What is the essence of Agile? Today's 5 minute short brought to you by Success Mentors University. I'm Joshua Barnes, and I am joined by Al Shalloway. So, the essence of Agile, focusing on customers and removing delays in the workflow. So, Al, what do you think about starting us off today?
Yeah, so a lot of people still look back at the Agile Manifesto in 2001 about what Agile is about. And I think that was a great thing and made a big difference in the industry. And I'll say, actually, I never signed it for one reason. It didn't talk about systems thinking and wasn't coming from a systems thinking point of view, but it was still brilliant. But let's look at how people think about Agile and really look at it's come a long way in 20 years. So, yes, it's a focus on adding value to customers, about removing delays in the workflow. So you can do that because delays in the workflow also cause additional waste. But the manifesto is very team centric. It's also all about time boxing, like sprints or iterations, because most of the people who were there were from XP or Scrum, and that's how they thought teams, time boxing. But we've learned a lot since then. A lot of theories about flow, lean, theory constraints. These add a lot of new stuff. Actually, they all existed prior to Agile, but it took a while for them to get converted into Agile.
It's still taking a while.
Still taking a while because, to be candid, a lot of Agilists, I think, are very arrogant. Oh, yeah, we got to save the world with Agile. Well, I'm sorry. There are a lot of these ideas have been out there for a long time.
Right.
But the big thing to really get is there's this difference between time boxing or iterations that you work within and a pure flow model. And I'm not saying one's better than the other. It depends on the situation you're in. But it's worth knowing both of them. And a lot of people think lean is about eliminating waste. But the reality is lean is about continuous education, about creating value for the customer by removing delays in the workflow. And that is often in the physical world, it's waste you can see, but in the software or IT world, it's different. It's about delays in the workflow, delays in feedback, delays in value, because the virtual world is different than the physical world. Coming from manufacturing to explain lean for IT is not an effective or good way of doing it. It's better than nothing, but it's not as good as it can be. So I think the essence of Agile is how do you see the problem so you can pivot quickly. And it's not just about empiricism or empirical process control anymore. It's a lot about theory that will help you. Like a delay in a workflow adds waste, adds actually additional work. Working on too many things is not a good thing. Now, when you do Agile right, whether it's Scrum, Kanban, or whatever, you'll be doing these things. But understanding that there's this people aspect, there's this value to customer aspect, there's this learning aspect, there's this technical aspect. All of it has to be wrapped together as a systems thinking aspect where everything interacts with each other. And to me, that's the essence of Agile. It's not just about the customer. Why? Because you got stakeholders who are inside the company. You got the worker bees who you should be attending to them too. It's more than, well, this is motivated people. So that's a good part of the Agile Manifesto. How do all these interact with each other? That's an interesting problem. What do you think? What did I leave out there? Because I'm sure I did.
Yes, I think one of the things maybe, to go into a little bit more just so that anybody that doesn't know this already understands it is the delays and the tie into, it's not just the delay and some context switching, it's that additional work that would have never have had to have been done in the first place if we're able to remove those delays or at least focus in on them and do what we can to remove them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like things are off target most of the time. So how do you find what the right target is? Well, you do that by doing a little bit and seeing. People talk about safe to fail experiments. And yeah, you have to try some things that are safe to fail. But we have a lot of theory to understand things. We actually know, like customers may not see the big picture and the whole far out, but they can see close in. So how do you build incrementally? I remember back in 1999, when I got into XP, we didn't have a really solid understanding of why testing first or why test specifications first was such a good idea. We later realized that it had to do with when you write your test specifications first, you create better designed code. It increases testability of the code. So there are lots of things, this interplay of the technical, the process, the people. This has made a complex system. The relationships are complex, and how we work in complexity is also kind of fragmented now. I personally think you can figure out a lot of stuff, and again, quick pivoting enables you to see what you're doing? How do you deal with worlds like the black swan? That's part of Agile, I think, is how do you deal with black swan events? So it's not just this focus and it's not just the focus and removing delays. It's how do you kind of have agility? Agility is something you want to have. It's not the point, the whole point. But in a real world, you have to be able to adjust to the reality of what happens. And that requires also certain abilities, certain characteristics, not just adding customer value, but how are you enabling yourself to do it? Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Glad to be back doing 5 minutes shorts. I'm sure we'll have a lot of others coming up.
We will. And if you've got any requests for any 5-minute shorts for us to do, there's a topic you would like us to cover, please either put it in the comments, whether you're watching this live or on replay, and we'll work it in. Thanks. We'll see you next time.
See ya.